Welcome back to TMZ Live. She is the person running for president, and she stands out from the others. One of the main ways would be she actually has a soul. She's known for having a soul. She's known as a spiritual guru.
Well, she's made her career.
That is, we're talking about Marianne Williamson, who you absolutely know her name, you know her face. She's been on Oprah's show many, many times.
Well, she's also, she is
accomplished author.
Marianne Williamson is a brand, and this started decades ago, where she really has provided inspiration for a lot of people. She has thrown her hat in a very crowded Democratic ring, and a million questions about how she can succeed, why she wants to do it. A million questions. Marianne, welcome to TMZ Live.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Marianne, it's, I guess you could have said Trump was unlikely, but it's so unlikely raising money, doing all of this with 16 people in this race. How do you see this ending in a positive way for you?
Well, Harvey, I've known you for a long time, and I know that you know, and I think millions of Americans know, that you don't change your life unless you get real and have a very serious, meaningful conversation about what's deeply true. And this country won't change and repair itself and renew itself until and unless we're willing to have a deep and real and authentic, fierce conversation about what's deeply true. And I facilitate that conversation, and it's frustrating for me, and I think for a lot of people, to see our politics unfold in such a superficial way, because this is perilous. The superficiality of our politics, the fact that it doesn't address the deep inner moral issues, the fact that we're just not discussing things like millions of American children living in chronic trauma. We're just not discussing things like the serious issues of race, slavery, reparations, the things that go along with that conversation. The fact that we're just not even discussing the fact that our entire defense agenda has to do with preparing for war, but we don't even contextualize waging peace. All of these things really spell disaster, if not for us, then for our children and our children's children. And I know that we need to have another conversation. I don't see anyone else having it, and so I am.
So, Marianne, a lot of what you just said really strikes a chord with people. I think it's true. You can't really debate that a lot of what you just said is absolutely true. I guess the difference is, how do you think you're going to be able to cut through that message when politics now, and a lot of this has to do with the president and what he says on Twitter, is just nasty, and it's this sniping. And I honestly, I've thought,
and it's the sniping that gets people traction.
I have hoped for years that this would mean that there would be a movement back toward the center where people weren't as polarized, but that hasn't happened. So how are you going to cut through all of that?
What's wrong with politics is what's wrong with everything else in America, where you have a small group of people, small group of institutional identities which sort of run the show. The consciousness of the American people is not the problem. So in this case, when you talk about getting traction, the reason it's hard to get traction is if CNN hasn't given you your town hall debate, or MSNBC, or the DNC, all the kind of self-appointed gatekeepers, which make it very, very hard for someone not in a certain club to sort of get in there, which is why I'm grateful to be on your program and others that I'm on, by the way. The problem, however, is not with the American people. So when I'm actually with voters in Iowa, voters in New Hampshire, voters in South Carolina, voters in Nevada, which are those first primary states where it really matters, they get exactly what you just said.
So it's so interesting, Marianne, that I've known you for so long, and I just think back to when I met you, and I'm thinking, she's going to be a presidential candidate. America's really crazy, isn't it?
Well, I'm having the same conversation with the country, Harvey, that I was having with individuals when you and I knew each other well. All that a country is a collection of people. So what you and I know is that in order to change our lives, we have to get real with psychological issues, spiritual issues. We have to ask ourselves, where am I and where am I not the person that I say I am? Politics is lost in this 20th century mindset where you think if you just tweak things on the outside like a machine, that's going to change things. All that does is fix it a little here and fix it a little there. To transform, you have to get deeper. And a 21st century president should be someone who is articulating that conversation and the vision that emerges from that conversation, where we realize that how we hold things in our minds and in our hearts, that's where it all begins. The fact that we see it as a moral issue to take care of these children, to have a cabinet level department of children and youth, when millions of American children, Harvey, live with chronic trauma. Millions of American children go to school every single day in schools that don't even have adequate school supplies in their classrooms. And if a child can't learn to read by the age of 8, that child has a drastically decreased chance of graduating from high school and a drastically increased chance of incarceration. So we have to get real about what the conversations need to be in order to do the things that we need to do.
Right. Marianne, I wanted to ask you this because we have this conversation here a lot about, when we're talking about politics and campaigns, the importance of celebrity endorsements. And I'm wondering how you feel about that. I know when you ran for Congress, there were a lot of celebrities here in LA who were supporting you: Kim Kardashian, Nicole Richie, Katy Perry, just to name a few. And we always watch to see what Oprah, who she's backing. So I'm wondering how you feel about that now you're running for president. Is it important?
Celebrities are citizens, and the profundity and the radicalism of American democracy is nobody's supposed to matter any more than anybody else. So I'm grateful when anyone endorses me.
Yeah, but Marianne, it
the
does.
Question that we talk about is
there's a reason people solicit celebrities. I'm just on balance. Does it help or hurt? It didn't help Stacey Abrams in Georgia.
That's sort of my point. I think for some of us, and I think I'm one of them, there's already a projection. Oh, she's just a celebrity candidate. So some of that actually almost works against me. I mean, the news with me is not that I have celebrity friends. The news with me is that I'm a very substantive thinker with very substantive policy positions and very substantive plans. That's the news on me, and that's what I'm having a harder time getting out.
Well, you got some of it out here.
Thank you. Marianne2020.com, and I'm very, very grateful to you both.
Marianne, thank you so much. Really a pleasure talking to you again.
Let's not wait another 29 years.
Okay.